Hi everybody, today we're here to show you how to install Tarket Quick Lock wood flooring. I'm Lynn Becker.
And I'm Charlie Andrews.
Hey Charlie, have you ever installed hardwood flooring?
Actually, I've installed just about anything you can imagine inside a house. But this flooring is one of the easiest projects I've ever done.
I've got a little bit of experience myself, but we don't want the folks at home to worry because this is not a project that you have to be a professional to install.
No, as a matter of fact, it's the perfect project for the weekend handyman. There's no glue, there's no mess, it's easy.
Charlie and I are ready to get started, but before we get to work, here's a message from Tarket.
Your home can be enhanced, enriched. It can become more beautiful, increase its market value, and gain carefree comfort when you add a Tarket wood floor. The story of the floor that will add so much to your home began more than a century ago in eastern Tennessee. Here, time and nature work together to provide a renewable resource, a bounty of beautiful natural hardwood that constantly replenishes itself. Generation after generation of skilled craftspeople have built a tradition of exceptional, enduring quality and value. And the company, Harris Manufacturing, grew year by year from a small business into a leader in quality hardwood flooring. From 1898 to today, a great deal has changed. In 1983, Harris was acquired by Tarket, the world's leading flooring manufacturer. New technology was introduced to improve virtually every aspect of hardwood floor manufacturing. New products were pioneered, advanced manufacturing processes introduced, and quality assurance procedures enhanced to set even higher standards. The result is outstanding natural hardwood flooring from Tarket. Although a great deal has improved, many of the most important things remain steadfastly the same. We begin with fine hardwoods. When this rich resource comes to us, expert inspectors make sure it's the best available. Giant kilns dry the wood with incredible precision in week-long cycles that are computer-controlled to assure the ideal moisture levels for long-lasting durability. Hardwood top and bottom layers are bonded to a cross-directional core for strength and stability. A thick top layer provides many years of beautiful use. Precision milling creates square edges and tongue and grooves to ensure a tight, exact fit, minimizing gaps to catch dust or allergens. Multiple layers of enhanced ultraviolet cured acrylic polyurethane provide a beautiful finish that stands up to wear and stains without waxing. After the finish is applied, the flooring is inspected again and again to be sure it lives up to exceptional quality standards. The result is a special hardwood floor that brings you pride and pleasure, now and for years to come. Your new Tarket wood floor.
Now before you start any kind of new flooring project, you need to make sure that moisture isn't a problem. Let's take a look at the gutters and the downspouts. In the case of new construction, once again your gutters and your downspouts should be working properly. Any landscaping that's been done should be draining water away from the house. Your windows and doors should be in, your HVAC system should be operable for 14 days, and all the wet trades should be completed. Now let's join Lynn inside for the installation.
Hey there, you ready to get to work?
I am.
Okay, before we start laying the wood flooring, we do need to address a couple of issues concerning subfloor preparation. The most important being?
Flatness.
That's right. It's very important that we have a flat floor, so let's check this out. Okay, Charlie, what I did was I purchased a simple straight edge, which you can find at your local hardware store. What we're doing is we're checking for the flatness of the floor. We don't want to find a bigger difference than 3/16 of an inch on an 8-foot radius. Today, I think we're really lucky because the floor seems really flat.
And that's because we're working with a wood subfloor. A wood subfloor is generally fairly flat and you don't have a problem. Now if you have a concrete subfloor, sometimes you will have a variance of greater than 3/16 of an inch, but that can be remedied by using an approved self-leveling compound that you can get at your hardware store.
Now that brings us to the second issue we need to address concerning subfloor prep, squeaks. Take a good walk around the room and make sure there aren't any major squeaks in your wood subfloor. If you do find squeaks, what do you want to do, Charlie?
Well, it's really simple, Lynn. Basically, if you take a drywall screw and find the squeak, find a joist nearest the squeak and drill through the subfloor into the joist. That'll take care of your squeak.
Or in some instances, you can fix the squeak with a shim as well. And now that we've covered those two major issues, I think we're ready to go on to removing the shoe molding. Hey, Charlie, have you seen my hammer? Okay, so the next step before laying our hardwood flooring will be to remove the shoe molding all around the room. I've got 3 tools involved in this process: a utility knife, a hammer, and a pry bar. First, you want to take your utility knife and score the caulk line. That'll help break the seal and help the molding pull more easily away from the wall. Then you just take your pry tool, put it into position, use your hammer, and gently pry the molding away from the wall. Now, most folks will want to lay down brand new molding. If you'd like to keep your existing molding, that's fine too. Just take extra caution when you do this process.
Now for this project, you're going to need a Tarket installation kit. In that kit, you'll find shims, a pull bar, and a tapping block. Now let's talk about the tools we're going to need for this project. For starters, you're going to need a utility knife, pry bar, speed square, a minimum 20-ounce hammer, a chalk line, and a tape measure, a circular saw, jigsaw, or handsaw, or a miter or table saw. When deciding which direction to install your flooring, consider the major source of light, in this case the bay windows. We want our flooring running parallel to the direction of the light.
Today we'll be using the floating method, which is the preferred way to do the installation. However, there are a couple of other ways you can do it, so I'd like to go over those methods before we start the process. The second type of installation method you might choose is called the staple down method. In addition to the basic installation tools, you'll also need a Stanley Bostitch Mark III stapler and compressor, the Tarket TK1205 adapter plate, 1.5-inch staples, a drill, and finish nails. Please note that the adapter plate is necessary to install the floor properly and to prevent damage to the finished edge during installation. After prepping the bare floor, cover it with an underlayment of 15-pound saturated felt. To start, snap a straight line 8 inches from the wall. This allows room to install the first row and includes 1/2 inch for expansion space. Align the edge of the first board along the chalk line and nail it into place. Set the second board into place against the chalk line and tap the end into place to create a smooth seam. Now you can complete the installation of the first row. Begin the second row with a piece of board that's at least 12 inches long, allowing you to stagger the end joints. Set the second board progressing against the starter wall and tap it into place using a shim from the edge to set the joint. Then secure the tongue using the stapler. Attach the staples 2 inches from each end and every 6 to 8 inches in the middle section of the board. Complete this process until the project is finished. For complete detailed installation instructions, please contact Tarket's Technical Services Department. The third method for installation is called the glue down method. In addition to the basic installation tools, for this job you'll also need a manufacturer's approved adhesive, a glue down tapping block, and a trowel with a 40 foot per gallon spread rate. Measure 8 inches from both ends of the starter row and snap a chalk line. Fasten a straight edge to the subfloor with the outer edge on the chalk line and nail it into place. Pour enough adhesive on the floor to work the first 2 rows based on a spread rate of 40 square feet per gallon. Then, using the trowel, evenly spread the adhesive directly onto the subfloor, making sure it's spread evenly. Place the first board in position using a shim at the end and drop the second board into place, positioning the tongue and groove as close as possible without actually engaging the lock. Place the tapping block on the end of the second board and tap it into place. Continue like this for the rest of the first row. Begin your second row with a board that's at least 12 inches long, allowing you to stagger your joints. Insert a shim at the end and tap the second board into place using the glue down tapping block. Continue the second and consecutive rows using this same method. Complete installation instructions are available from the Tarket Technical Services Department.
The next step using the floating method is to lay down an approved underlayment. Now when you're putting down your underlayment, there's a couple things to remember. One is we need to put the overlap up against the wall. We'll be talking more about that later. And also, there's always a filmy side. We want to make sure that that's the part that's against the floor. The purpose of underlayment is twofold. One, it's a moisture barrier and will protect your hardwood floor. And two, it's a sound dampener. Now make sure you give yourself enough extra underlayment to reach the farthest part of the wall. In this case, we have a bit of an angle. So we need to make sure that we've got enough extra that reaches the farthest part. Once you have it in there and you're flush against the wall, take a utility knife and simply cut the excess away. That takes care of that. Now we're just going to roll out the rest of it, keeping it flush against the wall. And now keep in mind, we don't need to lay all of our underlayment right now. You can just put it down as you go.
Hey Charlie, you ready for the first board?
Well, yes and no. Lynn, as you know, we always like to lay down our first row of flooring against the longest, straightest wall, which is this one. But in this case, we've got a door, so there are a couple of issues we need to address. Let's take a look. Now, anytime you're dealing with a doorway, we've got a couple of issues. One is the door jamb. Now, we want our floor to fit underneath the door jamb, so what we're going to do is we're going to undercut that. That's an easy cut. The trickier part is right here. The floor is recessed back here where it meets the threshold.
It looks like about 1/2 inch.
It is about 1/2 inch, so what we're going to have to do is we're going to make a rip cut along our board so it follows the contour of that wall. Now let me show you how to make those cuts. Okay, whenever you cut a jamb, we normally want to use a piece of scrap wood, but in this case it's the first cut of the day. So what we're going to do is take one of our pieces of flooring, we're going to turn it upside down so we don't scuff it, so we can still use it, and obviously because it's the underlayment and the flooring, it's the exact depth of cut that we need. Now it's almost impossible to make this cut without going into the baseboard just a little bit, but don't worry because we're going to cover that up with molding. Okay, now that we've cut both of our door jambs, our wood fits underneath there perfectly. So now we're ready to lay down our first row of wood. Be sure, and this is very important, that the groove side goes against the wall, okay? That's very important. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take our shims, put them in the end, put our wood into place. Normally, we'd pop in our shims to allow for expansion and just start laying our first row of wood. In this case, because of the door, we've got an issue. Because with those shims in there, we've pressed ourselves away too far from the door jamb and we've got a gap. So what we're going to do is remove the shims, push the wood up there flush, and we're going to cut it out so there's a notch that fits underneath the door jamb. Then there's going to be a tab there and our molding will cover up the rest of the gap. Now in this case, we're working with a 4-foot piece of wood, and on the other door jamb, it comes in the middle, and you never want to have a cut that's right in the middle. So we're going to start with a shorter piece of wood to make it better. Once again, groove side against the wall, got our back shim in, got it slid underneath the door jamb, and I'm going to make a mark about 1/8 inch on each side of the door jamb, and we're going to make our tabs. And we'll do that twice, one for that door jamb and one for this one. Lynn, if you could just cut that tab for me, that'd be great.
Sure will. Okay, we're ready to make our cut. This is our first board. We have to cut out the tab or notch to accommodate for the undercutting on the door jamb. For this particular cut, I'm going to use a jigsaw. You can use a handsaw, but a jigsaw sure does make life a lot easier. Don't forget your safety glasses. These are for your protection. So you just line up the saw and start. That looks really good. Let's take it in and see if it fits. Okay, Charlie, I've got your first piece cut.
All right, there's that tab we were talking about for going underneath the door jamb. Put our shims in. That's great. Now let's get another piece of wood, and we'll measure where we need to cut for our other door jamb. Let's line this up. Use our tapping block. I'm going to put this in there and as flush as I can so we can get a good mark.
That looks good.
Good. 1/8 inch. 1/8 inch. Now hold that, separate it. If you'd make another cut for me, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, here's that second piece.
Ah, great. Let's see how it fits. Line it up.
That looks good.
Tapping block in here. Good. Add a couple shims. We're ready for our next piece. Now we've got kind of a bay window over here, so we've got a little bit of an angle that we're going to have to deal with. But that's real easy to figure out. I'll show you. Take your board and put it right up in the corner. Then take a speed square, put it also in the corner, and just read right here, and it tells you that we're at 25 degrees. Now we'll simply measure from the inside corner back to the leading edge of our other piece of wood, and it's 40 1/2 inches exactly. Lynn, 40 1/2 inches, 25-degree angle.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, we're ready to make that cut for Charlie. We're at the end of the first row, and he's asked me to make a specific cut with a 25-degree angle, and I want to show you how to do that. We are using a miter saw today. If you don't have a miter saw, you're definitely going to need to use your speed square and make a specific clear mark for the 25-degree angle so you know you get that cut done correctly.
Okay, we've got our board back from Lynn. She gave us a 25-degree cut to fit against the bay window. We're going to nudge it up against the piece that's already in. We're going to add a couple of shims. And then we're going to take our pull bar and click it into place.
Okay, Charlie, we've got our first board for the second row.
Great.
Here's something we want to make note of. We actually started our first row of flooring with a section of board so we could undercut the door jambs, fit the seams together, and everything would lay smoothly. To stagger the joints, we're going to start the second row with a full 4-foot piece. That's going to make everything look great.
After we line it up, we want to make sure that when we use our tapping block that we start at the open end first, working our way back to the other piece of wood, or in this case, the wall. I think we're ready for another piece.
All right, now we're moving.
Okay, once again, starting from the open end, we need to get this joint right here put together first. That's in.
Good looking seal.
That's in. Perfect.
Beautiful.
How about the next piece?
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, before we lay our third row, now's a good time to talk about the underlayment.
Okay, when you're ready for your next piece of underlayment, just roll out your material, take it all the way to the end, and make sure that your edges butt up against each other. There's a little overlap that you want to just lay over your previous piece. Take it all the way to the end of the row, and then we're ready to continue with the rest of our floor. Well, we've made incredible progress. We've gone all the way across the room. Now we're on the last row and the last piece. There's going to be a particular cut with an angle here, so I wanted to go over the measurements before we drop it into place. Because there's a 25-degree angle, we want to measure from the inside corner of the angle back to the edge of the last existing board. That's 22 3/4 of an inch. We need to allow 1/2 inch for expansion space, so that's 22 1/4 lengthwise. For the width, we're looking at 6 1/2 minus 1/2 inch for the expansion space. That's 6 inches. Don't forget your angle of 25 degrees, and then we're ready to drop that last piece into place. Okay, we've got our last piece cut and ready to drop into place. Beautiful 25-degree angle there. Just drop it in, line it up. Because it's the last piece, we really don't need the spacers, but we do need to start at the end with our pull tool, just like we have throughout the entire room. So we'll slide that in. That looks great. Okay, one more step, the molding, and then our project is complete. For this project, we've chosen to use quarter round and square nose molding. Also available are T-mold and floating reducer transitions. Thank you, Charlie. Okay, we're ready for the last step on our project, that being the molding. I've already had him cut our first piece with each of the mitered cuts on each end. Slide it into place, and then we need to pre-drill a couple of holes. You always want to pre-drill because that prevents splitting and cracking of the molding. So we'll take our drill, and about 4 to 5 inches from the end, perfect. Let's do one more. Okay, now we're ready to put our nails into place. Line that edge up with your corner. Okay, let's put our second one in, and then we'll countersink them. Okay, take your countersink tool, line it up over your nail, and countersink your nails into place. Then you're going to use just a little bit of acrylic putty to cover up the nail heads, and you're done. Well, guess what, Charlie? We did it. We're done. Doesn't it look beautiful?
I cannot believe that we had vinyl down here and now we have beautiful hardwood floors, and we did it ourselves.
Yes, we did. And if you have questions concerning your home improvement project, please feel free to contact the Tarket Technical Services Department.
And good luck with your project.